back in sunny UK. So post-camp, obviously had about 10 days out in South Africa. Didn't quite go to plan in terms of Al not actually racing, which is very sad, but we actually had a lovely time. Managed to do some touristy stuff and also got to see some of my friends. I did some training with Natia, which is really nice, and got to hang out with Fenella a little bit before she raced. So yeah, all in all, actually, a few good things kind of came out of the trip, and it was lovely weather. And then, yeah, got back to the UK and it was snowing, which was a bit of a shock to the system. But actually, it was really nice to be home after sort of being away for like 6 weeks in total. It felt like I had probably a couple of weeks of everything being slightly disrupted with travel. So it was like a couple of days each side of kind of travelling out to South Africa, travelling back. Didn't really disrupt training too much, just probably did a little bit less overall to try and recover from travel. And got a really good sort of week of training out whilst I was in Port Elizabeth. So that was good. So then since coming back, again, just been trying to get stuck into a little bit of kind of threshold everything really. So it's been more threshold running, trying to build the bike, I guess, back into proper training with numbers. So because Spain, I was on the gravel bike and didn't have any power data, I've been kind of adjusting back to having power data, which has been quite fun actually. Finally got my TT bike back. Did my first ride on it in about 3-4 months. Slight baptism of fire. We basically had a friend's 40th over in Robin Hood's Bay, so I rode over there. So I had like a 5-hour ride with a lot of climbing. So it was like my first ride on the TT bike, but it was really nice. And a one by. It's a tiny one by there. It's like a 48. It's well designed for all the 30% hills going over North York Moors. Like really nice ride, and had a really nice ride back. So spent like a good like 12 hours on the bike over the weekend, which actually like always amazes me on that bike. It feels super comfy. I feel really good on it, and it wasn't like a shock to be back on it. So that was really positive. What else have I been up to? Running was going really well, other than I basically did a really good long tempo run at the weekend, had quite tight calves, stupidly decided to still try and do my track session and had to stop because my calves were still tight and weren't loosening. It's like nothing serious, but I just backed off running for like 5 days to not get back into basically what I had pre-Mallorca in 2021, which was basically a couple of months of not really running properly because of actually having a more serious calf issue. So pretty sure I've caught it in time and it's nothing serious, and I should be back hopefully doing some like tempo running by the weekend. But for now I've just been doing a bit of running on the lever, like making use of having that as a tool to take some of the weight off and like kind of still be running, but obviously not stressing the calf too much and letting that come back in its own time. Swim wise, just basically been plugging away. So felt like slight disruption to the kind of front pack swim program with kind of travel because you're in different pools, so it's quite hard kind of properly tracking progress. But Port Elizabeth was like a really nice 50-metre pool. That was lovely. I really like swimming in 50-metre pools. The second place we went to in South Africa was actually like an outdoor 25-metre pool, but like not particularly nice, as in like it wasn't a particularly fast one. So it was nice being outside, but didn't feel that fast. So the swimming felt slightly disruptive for the couple of weeks in South Africa, but since getting back, it's kind of been back into rhythm. But because I'm sort of doing my own thing, I'm now swimming down at the David Lloyd rather than with the squad. So I've had to kind of reintroduce myself to public swimming, which anyone that swims in the UK knows is particularly pleasurable. And also, so that pool in particular is like either super hot, quite busy, or it's quite hard to swim in. But I've now had a good guess almost 2 weeks of kind of swimming there, kind of got used to it. And I've set my kind of boundaries of, I guess, like what's sort of normal in that pool, and seem to be progressing. So I'm back into, I feel like I'm back into like good rhythm with the swimming, making little progress every week. So that's really nice to see. Still feels like there's so much to work on, but I think that's the kind of challenge of swimming. But yeah, so I think like everything's kind of going in the right direction. Still kind of keeping the 2 gym sessions a week going, trying to work on all the little things around sort of calf, Achilles, hips and glutes, all that kind of stuff, and trying to introduce a few more, because we're now getting closer to kind of racing, just getting a few little plyometric exercises in as well to kind of help with the running. The racing, what is the racing? I'm still being a bit indecisive about the racing. I'm going to start my season with Challenge Gran Canaria. It's just like, it's a really nice little race. It's quite easy to get to. It's a bit more low key. I kind of wanted just to like pressure off, fun little race to go and do, just to kind of get back into racing. And it's a really fun course. It's like hilly, like really hilly bike, fairly hilly run, and just like a nice fun one. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do one of the races in Ibiza, but I haven't quite decided what yet. Basically, the decision is there's the PTO Europe Open. Obviously, will be most of the best people. I think it is going to be a reasonably hilly course, but that 100k distance is just not that great for me at the moment. Like, I still feel like I've got so many swim improvements in particular to make, but also run to actually be competitive. So that kind of potentially isn't that motivating at the moment. The other race I can do is the WTS long distance champs, which is the day after, which is a much better distance for me. It's like 3k swim, 120k bike, 30k run. So I feel like that's actually more motivating, because it's like I could actually probably podium/win that, whereas PTO race at the moment, like zero chance basically, unless half the field didn't turn up. So yeah, I'm kind of trying to decide at the moment between those two. Both of them should have fairly decent points, because that was my other kind of deciding factor of obviously trying to get good points on the ranking system to be in a good place at the end of the year. So that's not a massive difference. So yeah, I think I haven't quite, like, probably depends a little bit on how the calf is doing in terms of whether I think a 30k race is doable in 6.5 weeks versus an 18k race.